We're live now, so hey, why not?
Awesome.
Welcome, welcome everybody. It is Monday night, and we are back. That's right. We are here. We are ready, and we are. Well, I don't know if we're ready. That's the whole point of tonight's show. Is just
Yeah.
is to show how not ready we are in a lot of aspects. But no, we are here, and we are thrilled that you were able to join us, because otherwise, Cubby and I would just sit here like this to the non-music to the non-music all night long. That's what it would be.
Yes, sir.
Oh
Music
my
in our
gosh,
head.
Cubby, it is great to see you. Oh my gosh, what is playing? I've got stuff playing in my ears.
I have nothing in my ear.
Hold on. I got stuff playing. Oh, there's what's playing. It was like YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video in my ears. And I know you guys didn't hear because I wasn't sharing anything at that moment, but I was like trying to figure out where it was coming from. And that's what I get for like leaving an old player open. Like it just decided it wanted to run. Anyway, Cubby, it is great to see you though. I am so
Yes,
thankful that
sir.
you are here tonight because um John's not.
No, again.
Again, John is not with us, but now John's doing his thing. John is handling a lot of very cool things, and he's been part of a community organization for uh 2 years now, maybe something like that, where like the first Monday of the month, he says, listen, the meeting goes late. I can't be there. Can you take it? And we said, sure. But then we realized, like, John, if you're going to be gone for like a month, like, it's sad. We miss him.
Yeah. As
It's
long as
fine.
those checks keep coming in, I don't mind.
Wait,
Those
you get
checks are
paid?
cool. Those checks. You don't? Oh shit.
We might have to have a little word after this is all said and done. But John, like both of us start to talk to John at the same time. Hey, John,
Yeah.
we got something to talk about here. But no, let's get into tonight's topic. So tonight's topic, right? In case you didn't look at the player title, right? Because I don't know why you wouldn't do that, but for some reason you didn't. We are talking about getting prepared for wedding season, right? Like, so for a lot of us, it's starting to ramp up. It may have already started. You may not have done some of these things and going, man, something just doesn't seem right. Tonight, we're going to give you some tips to be able to help out with that. That's like the go-to here. But as I've said before, if you're watching this somewhere in Facebook land and you throw a comment on the video, I can't help you. If it's a question, comment, whatever, great. We'll get it after the show. But if you want to be able to interact with us, if you want to be able to talk to us or ask a question or whatever might be the case, head on over youtube.com/disc jockey news. And you'll get the video there that you could follow and then watch us. And that chat I've got. Are you checking all of them? Are you like on? Did you just get your phone out to check Facebook land for me?
No, I
Oh,
actually went and turned off my phone in case they started get text started coming in and make sure
man,
nothing's on
your
fire.
people love you if they're texting you this late at night.
It's only 8 here in Iowa, so and I got trivia host out starting right now, and
Oh, okay.
so let's
All
make
right.
sure nothing's on fire.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing.
And
Fire with the equipment is not, your set is lit, man. Your speakers are on fire. That's a totally different thing.
I tell them to stop dropping rolls. All I can tell them is text, stop dropping roll or run out as fast as you can. No, I'm just kidding.
Throw
But
some baking soda on it.
yeah,
Or bake wait, which is it? Baking soda or baking powder? Which is the one they use to douse the
uh,
fire?
powder. I thought I don't know one
Okay.
of them.
Okay. I can't I obviously don't do that. We have a fire extinguisher just to be on the safe side, but yeah, you got to be safe. So, anyway, where did you want to go first? Because this was kind of your brainchild when you said, we need to start talking about, getting prepared for wedding season.
Yeah. So we first full weekend out. We've been doing stuff, for a while, but not everybody's gone out and throughout the time it was, I'm getting texts like, "Oh, should have fixed this cord or I should have done this." And so It's just kind of a checklist, maybe to if you haven't started yet, and if you have, it's always those times, end of the season last year, you got a cord you needed to replace, so you put it in the bottom of your bag and you forget about it, and then next thing, the season starts again, and you pull that cord out, like crap, I should have, of course we got backups, but you want to replace your backup, right? So make sure that you're just back ready to go again. So there's a series of things that we started implementing, after this last weekend that we started today, with planning forums and playlists and walking. So because we're standing on our feet and running around, so we're trying to get back in shape a little bit. Standing on your feet for 6, 7 hours. Just stuff like that, just to kind of get yourself mentally prepared for this week. So maybe you're not so stressed when you arrive on site. You're gonna be a little bit nervous, but as long as you have equipment problems, I can't help those nerves. Just try to make your
So
calls.
let's talk a couple different areas. So let's focus first off on that health aspect, right? So as you mentioned, right, we're starting to get into the season where we are starting fresh, right? With it, we're going to be standing a lot. You're going to be moving equipment around. Like the thing that baffles me to no end when I look at my number of steps that I take on an event day. Right. Like I got my normal set. And of course there's those of you that know that I've been doing a little running. John encouraged me enough that I finally was like, okay, I'm gonna get out there and do it too. So I've been doing some running. And so those are some spikes that you would expect, right? But then there's the running spikes and then there's the event day spikes. And they just right. So they're like way up there. So you definitely need to be or working towards making sure that you are in a shape to be able to handle through that, because especially when you get into the heat of summer, that's only going to make things 10 times worse for you. So what are some of the things that either you're doing or you're encouraging your team to do related to health?
Walking and stretching out. Some of us have little guts here. Okay, they're not little guts, they're big guts. So your lower back tends to hurt a little bit. So just kind of as you're changing, kind of stretch out a little bit, do toe touches, kind of make sure you're loosening up your back, your lower back. Always, if you don't have one, I'd get one of those mats, compression mats, Menards, Home Depot. Different stores have some. Really help your feet. Really, really do help your lower back and your feet for the next day, your shins. And just trying to get yourself a little bit looser so that you feel better. Because if your back starts hurting, you're not having a good time. And if you're not having a good time, your guests are not having a good time, and they can probably see it on your face.
Yeah. So I'm going to echo the statement about the stretching thing, and this is something that I had to learn the hard way. Um, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I can't remember when I finally decided I was going to like start doing some running to the point of doing like a 5K, and I was stretch, or let me phrase that, I was do what I thought was stretching before I went out and ran, and I was able to do it enough that I was like fine. Right? I didn't really have an issue. Like I was just getting along and I was doing it, and I had some success to the point that I was actually able to go for like 3.1 miles. It was like, okay, this is awesome. And then like after I did my first 5K, I was like, okay, I'm going to start working up to a 10K. And I just kind of was like, okay, I'm just going to keep going. And within like 2 or 3 days, I injured myself to the point that I needed PT.
Wow.
Fast forward a year later, right? Like I got through the PT and things where I was kind of okay. I really didn't have pain. Um, and I ended up like getting into some running and things were going well and everything else. And then I did some yard work and I finished the yard work. And then like the next day I could barely walk. Like I was bending down, like and my knee was just like, it felt like somebody was taking a knife and just stabbing it in there. And that kind of thing continued. And when I went to PT, they're like, were you doing the stretches? I'm like, well, I wasn't really having pain and I'm not running. I was doing yard work. And they said, you need to do the stretches. So that's the long winded way of saying I would recommend everybody finds a program of sorts, if you will, related to stretching. Something that's going to stretch you for the proper amount of time and in the proper way. And do this multiple times a week. Don't wait for vent day and go, well, I'm going to stretch on Saturday and that'll be good for everything. If you can do it every day, that's ideal. But doing that should also be 10, 15 minutes when you're doing it, not 2 minutes and you're done. Right. So, and that was my problem. Like that, when I was doing the running, stretching, I was doing it for like 2 minutes, and I was like doing like leg swings and stuff like that. That's, I would see like some people do. I'm like, okay, I can do that. And it was never enough. But I've noticed that since I've been doing those stretches, when I'm doing my events, I'm not as stiff. The next day, I'm not like, my back isn't hurting. And I used to think it was, oh, I need to go to the chiropractor, or I need a better anti-fatigue mat. Not saying that wouldn't help, but when I started stretching is when those pieces became a lot less painful. But yeah, I echo the anti-fatigue mat, and invest in quality. Invest in quality. Get something that's good. But I would say that needs to be something also that you should take stock of as you're starting your year, right? Like, Cubbie, do you replace yours frequently? Is it one of the things that it's like one and done and until it falls apart? Or like, how do you handle yours?
I haven't got anyone, but now that she's kind of say it, maybe it is a little time to replace it. Yeah, it's getting, war, because you stand on it, 52 times, 55 times a year. So yeah, I might need to replace it. I just never thought about it. Guess it's like a mattress. Need to replace it every so often because it loses compression probably.
Yeah, I would think that, I mean, again, depending upon what you have and the quality of the one that you bought to begin with. But and also where you're storing it, right? If you've stuck it outside in a cold storage center or storage shed like throughout the winter, and then you're bringing it out, that rubber inside might not be as
Kidding.
compression like, as it should be. It might be a little bit more brittle, and therefore might need to be replaced. So I'm not saying you need to bring it in all the time, but I'm just saying like that might lead you to thinking about replacing more often than not. Um, Another thing that I think is important for you to take stock in and to replace often is your shoes, right? Talk to anybody who does type of health things and everything else. When it comes to like shoes, sneakers, and that kind of thing that we wear for everyday use, there's really like a maximum number of miles that we should be in them for. I'm gonna guess dress shoes is a lot less than sneakers are. So, something to consider: just because it may look good doesn't mean that it's supporting you and helping you stay healthy with that. So, I would encourage that. I would definitely encourage you to be able to, um, go there again and pick something new that's going to be supportive for your feet, that's going to give you the cushion that you need, along with the anti-fatigue mat, so that you're not beat up at the end. All right. There was our health kick.
Yeah.
There was our health kick. The only other thing I'm going to do is get yourself a good water bottle. Get yourself a new good water bottle that you can stay hydrated throughout the day. All right. So
Yes.
what are some things? So we've taken care of the health thing. What are some, I guess, replaceable consumables is kind of what the tax term for it is. But what are some of those types of things that you're encouraging your crew to take stock of now? You mentioned batteries is one thing when we were talking. Are there other things that you'd say like, hey, let go count and make sure that you've got what you need?
Yeah, right now it's batteries, pens, printer paper. I make sure they have all that so they print out their notes. Some have tablets, so whatever they prefer. I just try to cover them with, make sure I have enough pens, quality pens, not just bad pens, to be able to take notes in case something changes, because we all know that things change all the time. And like I said, other than batteries, that's about it, I think.
Okay. So definitely looking for get your stock ready to go.
Yep. Clipboards,
So that
binders, clipboard binders. They need a new binder, a new clipboard, something, maybe it cracked or something, whatever they use. Each one of my guys does something a little different. Some use a tablet, some use binders, some use clipboards.
and I think that's great just to have that fresh.
Yeah,
You know
new
what I mean?
looking.
Like the one that they have might be great, but it might be time to just kind of go, hey, this is a new year. Let's have a new feel. Let's get a new binder, right? To make it feel new, to make
Yep.
it, to make things feel new again. And in the same respect, if I mean, I'm not saying you force your guys to do this, but those of you that are multi-ops, maybe it might be a good idea to force them to get a new insert, whatever it is that they use, just so that because they might be apt to go, it's okay, it looks fine. In the meantime, it's like falling off halfway on its hinge, like that kind of thing. So I would encourage that. I would encourage that. What are some other things that we need to check? What are some other things that we need to make sure are in working order?
You want to talk gear? You want to talk forms and playlist?
Let's come back to forms of playlists. Let's stick with
Okay.
gear because some of these are obvious and types of pieces. I think gear
Yeah.
is going to be somewhat obvious. Let's save the good stuff for a little bit later.
Yeah, no worries. So the gears, could pull out your cords, rewrap them. I know we talked about this in the beginning of the year, but do it again if you didn't do it. Because my guys love their Saturdays when they're not working in the wintertime off to spend their time because they do work so hard during the wedding season. So I don't really want to bug them too much during the off season, on doing some of the stuff. But through this weekend, a few chords. If you don't have that NLFX chord checker, please get it. That's the best investment you could ever buy. Check your cords, check your XLRs, check your microphone cords, check your batteries, check your controller, clean it, clean everything. I have a Danny Mac stand, and sometimes on the bottom, it gets a little dirty. So we cleaned all over here today. Like I said, it was our first full Saturday out, and so we found some stuff, and it's why I really kind of brought it up is the things that happened personally this Saturday. I'd love to tell you that we're perfect in every way, but we're not. And we have to. So cleaning stuff, making sure your speakers look good, cleaning the grills, make sure there's no spills or stains on them. Just cleaning the microphone head, like the top of your microphone, because sometimes people talk in it and get gooky, and so use a toothbrush. And there's some cleaning videos on how to clean your microphone head. Um, don't use any soap or water. Um, but no, I know, great, crazy.
Just kidding. Real quick here, you mentioned the NLFX tester. That is the MOAT, MOAT, the mother of all testers. And that is able to check pretty much every cable that exists in some form or fashion. The latest version I think even has USB-C if I remember correctly, or is coming out soon at some point. But you're able to check all your cables, right? Like you think things are great, they've been hanging wherever you've had them. If it's been in a cold environment, if they're not top quality cables, you may have done some damage over the winter. And the last thing you want to do is get to that first event or that second or third event because maybe you got through the first one, okay, and then suddenly it doesn't work out great. So getting them tests just to make sure that nothing's kind of screwy with them would be a good idea. I like the thing that I forgot about, and the thing that I think that you mentioned that is key here is the cleaning. I I often don't think about the cleaning, I think, too much until I get the middle of the season because that's when it seems like it's bad. But as I think about it, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, my stand might need, especially at the bottom, might need a little bit of a dust up or some cleaning solution taken to it just to kind of some of the grime and dust that I forgot about, or the ones that came from the Christmas parties, because I'll be honest, I really didn't feel like getting into the cold warehouse and doing some cleaning in December.
That's just
Like it
it.
just
Yeah.
you don't want to. So I know I didn't.
Makeup
Now I got a
brushes,
to-do list.
your
Yeah.
controller makeup brushes. It sounds
Yeah.
crazy, but don't use a paintbrush because those come off. Use a makeup brush. Those cheap paint brushes, the thistles come off. But also, there's a thing that my daughter gave me. It's a rubber thing, and the girls apply makeup with it, and it cleans it up phenomenal, and there's no bristles or anything. So I have to find
So
out
there's
what it is.
there's so many little components to our controllers and I've had some people say like, oh, I'm worn out. I've only had it for a year and a half. What's going on? They don't make them like they used to. Come to find out, they never cleaned it, right? And there's a lot of things that can make an impact to your controller. If you're in an area that's damp, that's not going to be good for some of those metal pieces that are attached to your controller. So keeping them clean, I know one of the things I have is like, especially during the summer months, is humidity, and it's not from where I'm storing it. It's I'm in a barn, and it's July, and I'm wringing wet, and I've sweated all over the controller. So keeping them clean even now is going to be key, because you want it looking good. It's a matter of appearance.
Yeah, they walk up to your stand, there's like dust all over it because you are in a barn and you've been in a barn for the last 6 weeks. Or near the end of the season, it sat there and got dusty, whatever on how you store things, with lids, no lids, but still there's still a amount of dust that gets all over the stuff. So just clean up to where it looks really sharp. It's like your dashboard of your car. If you're driving down your street and you see dust on your dashboard, and it happens every so often, you got to clean the dashboard of your car. Just got to clean your controller.
So, man, I got to remember the company now. I did a video, and this has been probably a year ago since I did this. Um, and I don't know if I can find. I did find it. Digital Deck Covers. I'm pretty sure that was the company, and if it's not, hopefully they don't get mad at me. This is one. So if you are keeping your gear in a certain way where it's not maybe covered all the time, right? Like in transport, or um in what you're doing, I'd pick one of those up, and I found them online. I was looking for something just to cover. I have a rain one that I use here at the house, and when I'm not using it, it just sits in the house. Well, houses get dusty, so it was getting dusty from just sitting when I wasn't using it. Um, so I found this, and it's like $40. Like it was stupid cheap for what it was, right? It's not going to give any protection except for like dirt and dust. So check them out. Digital Deck Covers. Is it digitaldeckcovers.com? I'm just gonna click on one. Found the image real quick. Yeah, .com. And that is the one, because so they've got a couple different ways that you can go about it, but it keeps it clean in that intermediate time. Yes, it's still gonna get dirty at the event. Yes, you still need to clean it, but it can help in some of those in between times. So one of the things I also would do is run your speakers through a test. Set them up at home, set them up at the warehouse, whatever. Tick the neighbors off for 45 minutes, whatever, and just send a louder sound through it than you would use at an event. So, get a good quality recording that gives you a little bass, gives you some good highs, and send it through it. And make sure that it sounds good. Don't clip it or anything like that. Don't, and I say louder than you do at an event. The purpose for this is you're able to find potentially things that were problematic. Did you have a sub that went bad during the downtime? Did you maybe get through the end of the year and not realize you had an issue? Take an opportunity now to get that taken care of if that's the case. So, all right. Other things related to gear, anything else that we need to touch on?
Magic erasers are just the best thing in the world for Evolve 50s. And your Danny Mac stands, or probably any, Joe Bund or whatever, anything that you can clean with. But magic erasers are really one of the best, one of the cleaning things that we've used.
I want to throw a little caution to like the Bun stands and the Danny Max boost, with regard to the magic erasers, because they are, to my understanding, abrasive. So where the Evolve 50 works out, because it's already an abrasive surface, the Danny Max stands, the Joe Buns, they're going to be smooth. So you might want to look for something
Uh,
that's going to work
well,
on a smooth surface. Now,
now,
if
now
you
you
have a
tell me.
mark, like if you have a mark, yeah, sorry. If you have a mark that just won't come off, right? Like you've tried some different, you know, alcohol, rubbing alcohol or whatever, and it's not working with it, then you might have to go the route of the magic eraser. I just wouldn't use it all the time on something that's supposed to be a smooth surface, because to my understanding, the way somebody described it to me, that it actually is like an abrasive, like it's like an eraser. It can
Huh.
rub and create some minor scuffs, minor marks.
Yeah, I didn't see that
So
this afternoon. Maybe I wasn't pressing hard enough. I mean, I don't know, but we used them this afternoon, and they worked cleaned everything up really, really nice, especially the speakers. I got white evolves, so golly Pete, keeping those clean in barn settings is tough.
not just the white ones, black speakers too. Trust me. You remember my picture from last year that I sent you
Yeah,
guys in the chat? Yeah. Yeah, it's not just the white ones that get dirty, but yeah, no, I definitely have something on hand to be able to clean your speakers up. And again, the soap and water is not really recommended. If you
right.
do happen to have to use soap and water, you want to use a very, very slightly damp towel. You do not want to be using, you don't want to take something that's like stuck under the faucet and bring it over and try and that's not what they recommend. They definitely say do not do that. Friend of mine, I was not this past weekend, the weekend before, we were using his speakers for the wedding, and they were dirty. Well, it was his wedding, so he wanted to clean them up. He's like, I really haven't cleaned them up, so I wanted to clean them up. And he had that really wet like wash rag. And he's like, yeah, you really got to get this wet or it's not, because the abrasive surface, like it. And I just went, what? But, uh, okay, your speaker's not what you're supposed to do, but okay. That's all I
Dang.
said. But yeah, definitely don't want them super, super wet.
Hopefully he's
Um,
watching tonight.
he's not, he's on his honeymoon,
Ah,
but he'll watch it at some point, or he'll learn when the speaker decides it doesn't want to like that anymore. But listen, you may do that. You may do that your entire career, and it's never given you a problem.
true.
But I'm telling you that they don't recommend it. It's not what you should be doing, is what they've said. So
And I understand about the magic eraser, and I probably won't do it again. I mean, it worked for me today, but maybe long-term use of using a magic eraser would scuff it up, I think, or take some of the finish off it. I could see where that happened. I don't know.
well,
Like yeah. So
I think you're
um
fine on your speakers. I think you're perfectly fine
yeah.
on your
Oh,
speakers.
definitely
But
the speakers. Yeah. Yeah. I'm talking
I'm
about the
talking like your
stand.
smooth stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. The polished finish. But like I said, I used it today, but I didn't, it wasn't, nothing was on there really hard. So I didn't like really rub it abrasively.
Okay.
But it took,
Well,
took some,
let's talk forums next, because that I think is going to be, that is something that I every season, I'm about halfway through the season before I finally realize all the issues that I've created for myself in some form, or the logic or whatever I've done. So first off, let me start by saying, if you're not using a CRM, get with a program. Okay. Find the one that's going to work for your workflow and use a client resource manager. It's key. It really is. It's going to save you so much time. It's going to save you so much a headache. Yes, there's going to be some upfront setup issues, but like once you have it in place, there's just no going back. There really is not. Like I smack myself every once in a while when I think about how long I avoided doing like online forums and everything else, and how many of my clients who, when I give them the link to the portal, and they go, and I basically tell them, you want to work on the wedding planning at 3 o'clock in the morning, you get up, you log into the portal, and you do it. Like, you don't have to go try and find the paper or the email attachment that I sent 6 months ago. It's all right there. So silent plug, DJ Event Planner is the one that both Cubbie and I use. They are a sponsor of our show. But I also want to say, like, I've used some other ones. That has been the go-to.
well,
That has
DJ
been the
Event
go-to.
Planner is made by DJs for DJs, where other CRMs are just they're blankets. Some of them, I don't want to talk about all of them in a broad stroke, and I apologize. Some of them are could be used for photographers and venues, and they could be used. They have multiple purposes CRMs. but DJ Event Planner was made by DJs for DJs, so they know what our needs are. And it is tough setting up early on. I've worked for them. I used to work for them for years, but they have so many resources that you can use. They have other people's forms. Like people uploaded their forms up there that you could use. Like you can use somebody else's contract and massage it and make it your own, right? So the setup is very simple. And I'll shut up because it is an amazing program. I you just I sent a contract from the park this afternoon when I took my granddaughter. So he booked, and I was like, "Oh, hold on a second, I'll send him a contract," and did it right there on my phone.
I remember before when I'd have to like, okay, let me get back to my laptop so that I can go into Microsoft Word and fill in your information and then turn it to a PDF and send it over. Like, oh my gosh, that was such a headache. I will say I will give one little plug. I use Perfect Portals to help me get set up. Karen,
Nice.
Rachel, like they're not currently a sponsor of the show. They were last year, but like I got in with them right before they celebrated their 1 year anniversary, and oh my gosh, like the setup was so much nicer. It really was smooth. It really was nice. And like I got to add elements. I got to go, I want to do this. I don't want to do that. And then they personalized it for me. So I didn't have to go in and go, "Oh, you give me everything and now I've got to figure out how to change to get what I want." Like that was not the case. So it's an investment, right? It's whether, DJ event planner or any CRM, and the setup is going to be an investment, but oh my gosh, it makes your life so much better.
Oh yeah, I couldn't live without scheduled emails.
Yeah. So make sure, so that's a key point right there. So you mentioned the scheduled emails. That's another piece that you can use through your CRM, so that it's just automatically, it just sends an email to your clients. Maybe you're reminding them to get in and fill out the forms. Maybe you're giving them tips, things to think about, whether it's related to you or whether it's related to wedding planning. Whatever might be the case. But if you haven't looked at your documents lately, look at your documents. Look at those scheduled emails and make sure that what you sent out doesn't sound like it came from 20 years ago, right? When was the last time you looked at it? Um, what's the language you're using? And what I mean by that, like, did you try and use some slang or something that, made you sound current that hasn't been used for 5 years? Right? So make sure you're going through your scheduled emails and just freshening them up. And even in the same respect, like I did that with mine recently with my ones to my vendors. So I'm Cubbie, I'm assuming you got the same thing based upon what we've talked about in the past. But if I'm working with a photographer or I'm working with a videographer or something like that, 9 times out of 10, it's ones that I've worked with before. So I originally had a lot of language of like, if we haven't worked together before, and I always felt like an idiot because half of them would respond until they got about the fourth time, and then they were like, "Oh, he always sends this." But so I kind of cleaned it up so that that's still kind of in there, but I kind of assume like we've been lifelong friends, right? And that was some of the cleanup that I did just to make myself feel better about what I was sending. Um, but now's the perfect time to do that because you're going into this season where you're going to be sending those emails, so might as well have them the way they should be.
Yep, touch every one of your forms. Make sure you touch them, check them out, your emails. Um, I have scheduled emails. I don't make this a total about DJ Event Planner, but I have scheduled emails that go out 12 months before their date, 11 months before their date. And I'm always updating those with new trending ideas to make sure that things are, that we're staying on top of the trends that I can share with my couples.
That reminds me, because I just remembered it's something that I need to add to mine. Thanks for that tip. Um, yeah, to emails. Got it. Okay. Hopefully I'll remember what that shorthand was later. But the piece that I would also add to that, um, go in and create a fake event and fill out your forms, because every once in a while I've run into this where some coding, something in the system might change, and something you set up in your form doesn't like to work anymore. for whatever reason. And this is not related to one particular CRM. Like I've heard of this pretty much across the board. Something changes, your form was reliant on this piece that was no longer there, and so it might not work the way you think it should. Again, you may fill it out and everything works great. The other thing though is you might find something that was wrong with your form that you never realized was an issue because you didn't run into it before. So case in point, my wedding 2 weeks ago, when I met with a couple, we were going through the form and I have a drop down list that talks about the client and their parents. So like, are their parents still married? Are they divorced? Are they separated? Are they, are they with somebody else? Has one of them passed away, but the other one's okay? And there were, and I never had a situation, I think, where both parents were deceased, and something clicked on it. And when it clicked on it, I had set up that part for whatever reason to go, who are they with? Right. So both parents are deceased, and now a line pops up that says, who are, like, basically, who are they attending with? And it was like,
Oop.
they're no longer alive. Like, that shouldn't be there. So I had done something in it. I was able to catch it, but so create one and try all kinds of weird things to make it break and see what happens so that you don't have an issue with a client breaking it.
And if you're into LGBTQ weddings, make sure they are LGBTQ friendly, using the words couples instead of classifying as brides and grooms. And I'm not here to debate anybody about them, but if you do them, then be cognizant of your client and their feelings.
Yeah, that's the thing. And a lot of times I think companies are like, oh, they're going to come back and they're going to, like, sue me or whatever. No, it's called just being a decent human being,
Yeah.
right? And being aware of the people that you're working with, because I don't think you'd want to purposely, upset them or offend them. And sometimes, like, going through your forums, it's difficult. Like, and I'll use this show as prime example, right? We're talking, and we'll be talking about some trend or whatever, and without thinking, I'll do bride and groom. Well, that doesn't always apply. And a lot of times I've been trying to catch myself to be cognizant of the fact that that's not the case. A lot of you do often same-sex weddings or other styles that are not just bride and groom. And so I try to be aware of that for you and for my own sanity of trying to be just a better person. So go through your forums, look for that stuff. And if you need help, reach out to people. Like, how can I fix this? This is the wording that I have. I don't want to upset somebody. I don't want to do the wrong thing. What can I do? What would, what have you done? What is your company doing? Like, look for those kind of things to help. All right. So let's get into the one that I wanted to save, which is playlists.
Yes.
Playlists, cart crates, virtual folders, insert some sort of management direction that you do with your music. Cubbie, what are some things that you do, or have you had your crew focus on?
We all kind of conspire. We're one of those DJ companies that dismiss tables. Some of people spin through music. I get it. If it's your market, doesn't do a lot of buffets like ours do. Um, Here in Iowa, they always don't have the staff. I think we've had this conversation, but we're a DJ company that dismisses tables. I'll just leave it at that. Don't want to debate it. So we custom create playlists, and we all get together and come up with songs that there might be like a new acoustic version or something, and try to come up with acoustic versions of cool songs and create custom kind of fun playlists that could happen. So we try to revamp those because you put them on, auto mix or whatever, and I hate hearing the same song every time I'm dismissing tables. And the couples aren't going to know the difference because, it's their first time at my wedding sometimes. But every Saturday, 50 times a year, I don't want to hear the same playlist. even though I shuffle, it's um still boring. So we try to come up with cool, fun, cool ones. We have a upbeat one, we have acoustic one, we have ones without words, we have a Disney one for Disney fans. Just a lot of unique ones, and we just try to update those with cool music.
So I'm gonna go a little step further here because I'm gonna challenge you, Cubby, to maybe put a little extra thought into this. Not saying that you have to mix, right? Like, and we can debate that all day. And I'm not gonna go that path with this idea. We're just talking about the actual like setup of music and having it and everything else. I would encourage you when you're placing them not to put it into shuffle, but to purposely think about the order that you're putting it in and the song order that you have. Try and look for things that are going to be in complementary key that are so that when it goes from one song to the next, it doesn't have to sound the same, but that it's not going to clash with each
Right.
other. So having that piece, I think, can be good. I'm going to give a shout out to Matt Campbell out in Las Vegas. We've had Matt on a couple different times, and I've talked about his program. He's got a music newsletter that if you're not subscribed to, please go out and do so. Um, he's got that very creative. Let's think outside the box about this song or getting these songs or using these songs. And it's not like taking a popular song and using it in a different way. It's like finding a different version, finding an up and coming song. And when it comes to cocktails, when it comes to dinner, man, that is some key elements that you can bring in some like covers or, different songs that might get a different emotion with that and create some of those playlists that, as Cubby said, prevent you from hearing the exact same thing every week. Um, I was challenged for this for a couple of reasons. I wanted to look for a new way to do it because not just was I getting tired of hearing the same songs. I mean, it was helpful because it was like, okay, when I would hear this part of the song, I'm getting to the halfway point in the playlist, right? And if we're only a fourth of the way through dinner, I need to make sure that either I'm going and adding music to this or whatever. So it was helpful, but I always questioned myself whether like I would have some couples that would be at two or three, four of my weddings, right? Like I may have done their wedding and now I'm at all their friends who hired me from their wedding. And I'm like, how many of them will hear the stuff and go, "This sounds familiar." Like I feel like I heard this at my wedding, or I feel like I heard this at Joni's wedding. Like what was that the case? And maybe not. I'm probably overanalyzing, but I also don't want to give that opportunity. So I purposely push myself to be different than what I was before. And so finding ways to set that up. Crate Hackers is a great option. They've got a lot of this playlist. The stuff from Matt Campbell that I talked about is a great way to do that. And I mean, Matt even went so far as, I mean, he's got a book. It's back there somewhere. But his book, you can get different ideas for dinner, for recessionals, processionals, for grand entrances, like a lot of those types of ideas that you might get on the DJ event planner top 200 and all the other lists that come out, but it's not the same old list that you've heard for everything. It's not based on some voting system where the ones that get played and played and played and played and played show up to the top. This is new ideas, different thoughts, and some of those traditional ones. It's not going to be purely like off the wall stuff. There's going to be some of those traditional pieces, but it's going to be that kind of different. And create. I mean, that's the beauty thing. Beautiful piece about digital is like you can create this playlist and have like 20 of them, and they all be somewhat similar, but they reach for different things. Did I just make you do some more work, Cubby?
Yeah, I was just thinking through stuff as you're doing it, and we have to go back and recreate a whole bunch of different things.
I don't think it's going to be that
No, I don't think
that
it'll be.
incredibly insane. Like I think the hardest would be if you decided to take me up on the idea of the complementary keys.
That's what. Yeah, the beat matching is like, yeah,
Yeah. I don't, like I said, I don't think you need a beat match, but just having the complementary keys would help that feel. from piece to piece, just flow a little bit better. Again, it also depends upon how you have your transition set up. Do you have it to where it like just cuts off silence, or do
No,
you have it to where it's going to blend some songs, blend a couple seconds over each other?
I got a -3 blend, so it just kind of goes in
Okay, so
transitions
you
over.
got a little bit of a radio fade.
Yeah,
Um, and that that's where having a complementary sound could help it feel better. And again,
right.
we're not working it, they're not dancing, they're talking, they're probably not going to notice it.
We're probably thinking way more overthinking it than they are.
I'm sure we are. I'm sure 100% that we are. But it does open up that door for things to help, things to improve with that, things
Be
to make it
better.
sound better.
Yeah.
It's the Alan Berg thing that I've heard him say a couple different times, where we don't get credit for doing things right, but we lose credit for doing things wrong. So if you've got a sound that as you're playing just doesn't go together with the next song, you might have somebody go for a brief second. Like if they just happened to be like they were talking and there was a pause in their conversation, they heard that and they went, and then they were back to being fine. But if you do it together, they may never notice. So does that mean you need to? I don't know,
Yeah.
but wouldn't hurt. Wouldn't hurt.
But I do like Matt Campbell's. I do subscribe to that, and it's a great email. Oh my gosh, it's a great email. It's just packed every week. It's packed with something.
What is it? Wedding music newsletter.
Mhm.
I want to make sure that if we're quoting them and telling people to go check it out, that we actually do the right my wedding songs. That's what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the weekly wedding music letter is the name of the email that you'll get, but it's myweddingsongs.com. That's how you can go check him out and get on his list. And it's free. Like you can, I mean, there's a paid thing too if you wanted to go that far. But it is free to check out. So yeah, because I'm cheap. I'm,
free resource. It's the guy's amazing, and like I said, it only works if you use it. And if you're gonna subscribe to it and not read it, then don't waste his time or your time. But it's really cool.
I think he would say as long as you subscribe, he doesn't care if you open it.
Yeah.
He doesn't care if you read it or not. Just open it.
Yeah.
Um, well, anyway, we are getting down to the end of this show. So my question to you kind of is there anything that any other prep things that you're pushing with your crew that we didn't touch on? Anything or even for yourself?
Yeah, we we talked about clothes. What we, this season, how we went because it's so hot, long sleeve, short sleeve, how we gonna, I'm not a fan of the company polo type thing. I'm a fan of jeans, really nice shirt and a jacket. So, and tennis shoes. I'm cool with tennis shoes as long as they're nice tennis shoes. Don't use them for anything else. But yeah, we're trying to look for a fresher look, cooler look, cooler vibe. So it's dressy but not dressy. I mean, you're not gonna be that guy with the overalls and cowboy hat on. But you're still dressy. And a lot of people like, I don't take my tie off till the groom takes his tie off. I get that. There's different strokes for different folks. You do what works best for you and makes you feel comfortable. Um, haven't lost the wedding yet for the way that I dressed. So
I would encourage you to check out some of the mainstream people and just look at those that are doing vlogs that are putting up recaps from their weddings and are standing in front of it. And I'll use Mike Walter for an example, right? Mike's got style. I wish I had Mike's style. Chris Washburn is another one. Chris can be very out there in his style, and he can also be very classy in his style. When he goes for the really wacky outfits, I would avoid that stuff. But unless you got that personality, but take it, check out what they're doing, check out the look that they're having. I remember Mike mentioning it was just last year. He was always shirt and tie. And suit coat, you might take the suit coat off, obviously, when he's mixing and stuff like that, but he was always shirt and tie. And then he had one wedding, and if I'm quoting it wrong, Mike, I'm sorry. He had one wedding that they didn't put formal or something like that. There was something that was worded on like the forms that they have that give an idea of what the tire is going to be. And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to try it without a tie. See if it feels weird, see if anybody notices or whatever. Because he was also noticing that as he was going to these weddings, people were like, they were wearing button ups, they were wearing suit coats, they just weren't wearing ties, right? They
That's
had,
me.
and that is a look, right? That is a look that's going right now. And so he gave it a shot. He loved it. And I think he still does wear a tie occasionally, but it's not every event type of thing like he used to feel he had to do before. So look for those people that you consider to have style. Look for what they're doing. Um, and see if you can glean some possible ideas off of that. Anything else that you chatted with him about?
No, not off the top of my head.
Okay.
No, see anything, do
I know I would put go
you?
down, but I think I hit my head earlier
Yeah.
the other day. All right. So we are at the time. So I do want to remind you a couple things. So coming up next, we got Hanging with Howie, DJNTV.com/chill. That's the place you want to go. From 10 to about 10:20 Eastern time. They will be recording, then they'll shut it off, and then you just hang out and talk about whatever. Maybe talk about the prep work that you're doing, some of the stuff you've already done, or whatever you might want to chat with them about. Then tomorrow night, or actually tomorrow morning, John's gonna have his DJ tips that are gonna pop up. Then 9 o'clock. What is involved with building the perfect DJ speaker? That's gonna be Tuesday night with Ben Stowe. So when we're thinking about what's all involved, you can check out those things again. That's 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock is going to be again back at DJNTV.com/chill for the Tuesday night music show. They'll be recording that. Again, you can hang out, watch it, and then when it's all said and done, again, cameras will come off and then everybody will start hanging out. Wednesday morning, you've got my tips, and then Wednesday night, 9 and 10 o'clock, will be the YouTube replays of Hanging with Howie and the Tuesday Night Music Show. That is the stuff that is coming up this week. So make sure that you're making a point, some form or fashion, and head on over there and find all those videos. Watch them, share them, tell your friends and neighbors, bug your mom, whatever might be the case. Get them to watch. That's what we like. Lots of watchers, lots of subscribers, lots of thumbs up. So as we finish, Cubbie, any parting words about this or otherwise?
No, you know, have a good time out there and make sure you're ready for your first one if you haven't done one yet, or just get prepared. It's wedding season is upon us. Meetings are happening, and so maybe it was me late tonight.
And that's the key, right? It's all about being prepared. It's all about taking some of that stress out. And if you go through a lot of these types of tips and a lot of these types of areas, I think it's going to be beneficial for you. It's really going to help you just not feel panicked if something happens, right? Because you've gone through some of those checks. That's one less thing you have to worry about on a day where you're already worrying about 40,000 other things. So, all right. Well, I think, knock on wood, John will be back next week. I think. We'll see. It's not one of, I don't know. Maybe it's one of his kids may have a concert or a track meet or something. So
It
maybe
is
not.
end of the year.
But
Yeah, it is the end of the
but
year.
I think he'll be back. But if not, Cubbie and I will take the reins, and maybe we'll even try and find a third person or fourth person to come join us just for the heck of it. But we do appreciate everybody, whether you're watching live or whether you tuned in on Facebook Live or whether you're catching the replay on YouTube at some point. Thank you very much for taking your time, because without you, again, this is just Cubbie and I bop into some music that doesn't exist. So have yourself a good one.